pictured with a falcon on his wrist in Sikh religious art. The falcon remains a powerful mystic symbol, and claims were made that falcons had appeared in various locations around Punjab following the Indian Army assault on the Golden Temple complex in June 1984. A falcon was said to have appeared at Prime Minister Indira Gandhi's home just before her assassination by 2 Sikh bodyguards in October of that year. Jarnail Singh Bhindranwale carried a silver arrow, also reminiscent of the quiver of arrows on Guru Gobind Singh's back at all times. Dr. Amarjit comments, "Whenever Santji gave somebody some responsibility, whenever they went on some mission, he used to dismiss all the people around him and go inside and pray for hours and hours. God was never far from his mind. Then sometimes people would notice that when they got endangered in some way, suddenly help would come from nowhere to save them." Singhs became quite confident that Santji's mystic mind and his strong prayers were always with them. That is an important part of all this. Sant Kartar Singh before him was the same. Some Sikhs say that he had predicted his death was not far off, and shortly after he died from a car crash. At that time the doctor who had treated Sant Kartar Singh Ji before his death said something really interesting. That doctor was a Christian, and told how he had explained to Santji that he had to remove the hair of his head and chest for surgery. Santji said, "You can cut my head off, but don't touch thy hair." That's how devout he was. And he never complained that he had any pain. The doctor said, "What kind of person is this?" And he said, "If I can make Santji survive, I will see that Jesus has survived." He thought Santji was so spiritually strong. Guru Gobind Singh was also responsible for the code of discipline that still regulates Khalsa Sikh life. The saint soldier of the Khalsa is to rise before dawn to bathe and to pray. The use of tobacco is strictly forbidden along with other intoxicants. Chastity is mandated. One should forsake his egoistic desires, and Sikhs are enjoined to be always ready to help the defenseless. Furthermore, and importantly, a Sikh should never show his back to a foe in battle. Fearlessness under fire has become something of a trademark of the Sikhs. The British colonizers of India recognized the Sikhs as a martial race, and Sikhs served in the Indian army out of all proportion to their numbers until the recent disaffection. "He who is fearful is not a Sikh, and he who is fearless is a Sikh," says Bhindranwale at the Golden Temple entrenchment. One of the venerated martyrs of the Khalistan movement, Bhakti Singh Brahma of the Khalistan Liberation Force, is known and admired for his habit of firing at his targets from a full frontal standing position. He used to use village loudspeakers to challenge the police to come out and get him. This kind of utter disregard for personal risk is what makes the Sikhs great fighters, fearsome enemies, and often, of course, martyrs. A major prayer of Guru Gobind Singh, now part of the national anthem of Khalistan, expresses the militant ethos clearly. "Lord, these boons of thee I ask, let me never shun a righteous task. Let me be fearless when I go to battle, give one faith that victors will be mine, and when the time comes to end my life, let me fall in mighty strife." Guru Gobind Singh suffered the martyrdom of his 4 sons, the elder 2 when he sent them into battle, and the younger 2 when they were bricked up alive inside a wall by a Mughal functionary. Despite this terrible loss, Guru Gobind Singh wrote a Savarnama or letter of victory to Aurangzeb. "These are just a few candles that you have snuffed out," he wrote. "But the whole blazing furnace of the Khalsa is all around me, and it will make Punjab so hot that your horses won't be able to gallop across the burning plains." On Guru Gobind Singh's death, the spiritual authority of the Guruship passed on to the holy scriptures, and the temporal authority passed to the entire Sikh Panth. Guru Granth and Panth are therefore the twin repositories of Guru, making veneration of the word and defense of the nation dual modes of worship for the orthodox Sikh. It was Guru Har Gobind, the 6th Guru, who was responsible for the construction of the Akal Takht, the eternal throne of the Sikhs, to complement the spiritual center of the faith at the Harmandir Sahib. Following the martyrdom of Guru Arjan, His father, Guru Har Gobind, took up two swords and said they would be called Miri and Piri, representing both temporal and spiritual authority. In Indian terms, the combination of Shakti and Bhakti. These two swords became emblematic of the Sikh community, and flutter on the saffron or blue banners that hang outside every Gurudwara. The emblem of the double swords is now a particularly prominent symbol of nationhood for Khalistani Sikhs. The link between religion and politics in Sikh tradition was made firm through the succession of gurus from Guru Nanak to Guru Gobind Singh. But some of the greatest heroes of the Sikhs lived after this period, when Guru had become enshrined not in individuals but in a dual Guru Granth/Guru Panth formulation. The first was Banda Singh, a hermit who was converted to Sikhism by Guru Gobind Singh. Banda Singh led Khalsa warriors in a raid on Sirhind, whose ruler had killed the Guru's sons, and was titled Bahadur or Brave by Guru Gobind Singh. After Guru Gobind Singh's death, Banda Singh Bahadur and his band took over most of southeastern Punjab, where they proclaimed a republic in the name of the Gurus. They fought with Mughal Emperor Bahadur Shah and finally was starved into submission by his successor. Banda Singh Bahadur was eventually marched to Delhi in chains, forced to kill his own infant son, and executed along with other Sikh prisoners after they refused to convert to Islam. By the late 1730s the Khalsa had regrouped under Nawab Kapur Singh, who gathered local chieftains together in a kind of coalition force called the Dal Khalsa, the Khalsa Army. The militant group started by Gajinder Singh in modern times took its name from this group. The Dal Khalsa's fame stems from its bloody encounters with the Afghans, who were attacking the Mughals from the west at the same time as the British had begun their encroachment from the east. The so-called Lesser Holocaust of the Sikhs occurred in 1747 when Sikhs were slaughtered at Khanduan by the Mughal forces from Lahore. In 1762 the Dal Khalsa faced a different enemy, the Afghan forces of Ahmad Shah Abdali, at Malakotla, a battle in which thousands of Sikhs, possibly as many as 20,000, were killed in what is now called the Greater Holocaust. After the massacre, Ahmad Shah Abdali attacked Amritsar, destroying the Golden Temple complex. But the Sikhs rose up in response and eventually defeated the Afghans, putting the whole of Punjab under Sikh control for the first time in history. The empire of Ranjit Singh, established amid the contending Gurkha and Maratha powers of the region, made its peace with the advancing British by signing a treaty of friendship in 1809. Although Maharaja Ranjit Singh was a Sikh, his administration incorporated not only persons of various ethnic and religious communities of the subcontinent, but also stray Europeans. He made large endowments to Gurudwaras, and under his administration the upper floors of the Akal Takht Hut, which would later shelter Bhindranwale and his band, were added. The Harmandir Sahib was covered in its defining gold leaf. The separate church and state in the empire meant a general atmosphere of tolerance and ecumenicism. However, most would agree with Muhammad Ali's assessment he had raised the most modern native instrument of state in 19th century India. This was despite being illiterate. Ranjit Singh built up a technically advanced, unified army on what was left of the Dal Khalsa guerrilla forces, with a clear chain of command from the centralized authority down to the jthas, or brigades, after which the jthas of recent activism are named. He began a vigorous program of expansion from Kashmir in the north to the Khyber in the west, regions where Ranjit Singh's reign is remembered less fondly than in the Punjab heartland. But in the east were the British, and after Ranjit Singh's death his less effective successors eventually ended up ceding the empire to the expanding colonialists. The last, Maharaja Dalip Singh, was converted to Christianity in his youth, but later re-embraced Sikhism.